What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the October 14th episode of WWE Smackdown. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, tonight's episode of SmackDown was very good. Very good. A few things they could have tweaked and everything, but for the most part, I mean, most, if not all, the anticipation was for Bray Wyatt to, his return on SmackDown and that whole thing. And it delivered, but in a very unorthodox way that left many questions and practically no answers. But that's how you want it to be. So, but other than that, I mean, this show was filled. It started off with a bang, literally a bang. There's a car crash with Karrion Kross, and Drew McIntyre comes and starts beating them up. So it starts off with that, and it ends with Bray Wyatt, and the way that ended, which I'll get into a little bit later. But overall, like I said, this was a very fun show. It was watchable, enjoyable, and I mean, they're slowly getting that momentum train going towards Survivor Series, and from there, Royal Rumble, and then, of course, the massive storm of momentum going into WrestleMania in Los Angeles. So WWE's going in that very good direction. But before I get into this whole show, I'm going to give you guys the results. So it started off with Sami Zayn defeating Kofi Kingston. We had Braun Strowman defeat two enhancement talents, James Maverick and Brian Thomas. Then we had LA Knight. Yes, LA Knight returned. No more Max Dupree. LA Knight defeated Mansoor. And we had Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai, Damage Control. They defeated Shotzi, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez, who was called up momentarily, I believe, from NXT. It was a part of her, I believe it was part of her Pick or Poison stipulation between her and Cora Jade and NXT. That whole thing that's going on in there. And then in the main event, which was a fantastic main event, we had Rey Mysterio. Yes, Rey Mysterio. Early in the night, he said that, told Triple H, hey, I want to quit. Triple H like, no, come into my office. Triple H pretty much put Rey Mysterio on the SmackDown brand, and Rey Mysterio is officially on the SmackDown brand. So Rey Mysterio, he defeated Ricochet, Sheamus, and Solo Sikoa. And now Rey Mysterio is the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship, which means we will somehow get Gunther versus Rey Mysterio. And if anybody knows Rey Mysterio's history, he has a very, not a favorable record against big guys. So this goes all the way back to like 1997 when he got mollywopped by Kevin Nash in the NWO. So it's been a history thing with Rey Mysterio, but that is the results for WWE SmackDown. And like I said, the show started with car crash with Karrion Kross and that whole thing, and it was a really, how do I put it, a really enticing way to start the show, because if you're flipping through the channels, it's top of the hour, 7 o'clock, you see these guys fighting with a car crash, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? You're going to stop. And kudos. Good stuff from WWE and Triple H at doing that. Because when I watched, I believe I was tweeting or something just on my phone, and I looked up, I was like, whoa, okay, all right, this is different. And then we went to the Sami Zayn Kofi Kingston match. This was a solid match. There was a few spots that were, you could tell they probably, man, they've wrestled before, but it was just something a little bit clunky in between. And then after a while, they just got into the swing of it. Of course, there was New Day chants. Then we had, there was a spot where Jey Uso, man, he super kicked the hell out of I believe it was Xavier, but man, that super kick was nasty. No, I believe it was Kofi. Um, then you had towards the end of the match, you had Jey Uso help Sami Zayn. There was a spot where Kofi and Sami were doing roll-ups, and Jey Uso just kicked Kofi Kingston over to allow Sami Zayn to get the pinfall, and Sami wins, and Jay and him are they're celebrating, and then Sami's like, "Yeah, I did it, I did it, I did it." And it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't do it. So again, furthering that storyline between Jey Uso being the hothead, Sami Zayn, watching them. This whole dynamic is so entertaining and so fun. Then, of course, like I said, Triple H, he met with Rey Mysterio. Mysterio's like, I don't want to fight my son. And that was the basis of him asking Triple H to, he wants to quit. And Triple H, like, pulls him in the office. And then later on that night, he fills in for Karrion Kross because of the attack earlier in that started the show. Then we get a video package hyping up Halloween Havoc for NXT. Backstage, we got Roxanne, Shotzi, and Raquel. They're all happy and, yeah, I miss you. And mind you, they were all in NXT. Then you have Damage Control. Bayley's like, why didn't you pick me? And Roxanne's like, well, you're not a champion. So, and it's like, ooh. And the reason why Bayley asked her, why didn't you pick me, was because Roxanne picked Raquel to face Cora Jade on Monday Night Raw. So that's where their whole thing started. And Bayley's like, well, I'll see you tonight and see who wins, and that whole thing. Then we get Strowman versus James Maverick and Brian Thomas. This was a squash match. Like, he clotheslined him. Then I believe this is the second week in a row where, was he on Raw? I can't remember if he was on Raw, but most of his matches lately have consisted of him being in handicap matches, clotheslining one guy, and then power bombing the other guy on top of the guy that's laid out after he clotheslined him. And as he's fighting, you got Omos and MVP. They're walking down the stairs in the arena, and they have this face-off. And MVP, after the match, he tells Strowman, a monster ain't in his shadow, referring to Omos. So we're likely headed to a Omos Braun Strowman feud, which, I mean, didn't we have Omos and, was it King of Zir, like, last year? And I don't know. Very interesting. Lately, ever since, I would say since, man, I think, I don't know, the big guy feuds in WWE lately in the last few years have not been very good. Like, it's best to have those big guys, like, separated. Like, try not to have them interact and feud with each other, because it doesn't come off the way that maybe they want it to come off, and it doesn't come off the way that, like, most fans anticipated. And it's just like it's not even to the level of, like, Andre the Giant and Big John Studd, or the Giant and Kevin Nash, or Sid Vicious and Kevin Nash. Like, it ain't even to that level. Like, at least that was, like, watchable. Like, lately, like, the big guy matches in WWE are not very watchable. Like, it's just like, okay, hurry up and let's go to something else. And that's not a knock to them. It's just, for some reason, it just doesn't connect and mesh or anything. And it's like, okay, let's go. From there, again, we get a recap of Extreme Rules. Then we get a backstage segment with the Bloodline, and you got Sami, Solo, and Jey Uso. Sami's like, I did it on my own. And Jey was like, no, you didn't. I helped you win. And he goes to his brother Solo, and he's like, didn't you see it? He's like, man, I didn't see it, and I can learn a lot from Sami. And it's just like, So again, This is adding further to the Jey Uso is a hothead, and Sami Zayn is watching over him and that whole thing. So, interesting storyline with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. And it's honestly, if you really think about it, it's probably the most intriguing story in all of WWE. Like, it's probably the most intriguing. Sami, Jey Uso, and the Bloodline. Like, that is the most intriguing storyline on WWE TV right now. From there, we get Mansoor versus LA Knight. And yeah, this was LA Knight executed the BFT finisher, and that was it. And then he gets on the mic, and this is where like it kind of got weird because he was, mind you, he's getting cheered because he left Maximum Male Models, and then he starts talking about the fans like, I don't need your cheers. I'm putting everybody on notice, and he like cuts like this heelish promo, and it's like, why? Like, huh? And the reason why I'm saying huh is because, like I said, he was getting, face reactions when he, got away from the Maximum Male Models, and then it's like they switch him to this, and it's like, all right, like we really kind of like this guy, but you want to turn him heel? It's like, all right, we'll see what happens. So glad to see LA Knight back. Me personally, kind of wish they would keep him as a face because they do need fresh faces for the heel and baby faces side, and like maybe because Bray Wyatt, like we don't know where he's at as far as a heel or face. Hopefully they keep him as a baby face because he's getting huge crowd reactions, and to turn him heel would just like damper on the moment of him returning. Then they recap Bray Wyatt's return again. But of course, that's WWE. They're going to do it. Like, they're going to do it. Then we get the Damage Control versus Roxanne, Shotzi, and Raquel match. Man, this match was very... Maybe it's because some of the wrestlers maybe aren't used to working with other wrestlers in the match. Of course, Damage Control are working together, but Roxy looked really good in the match. A few moments, it's like, all right, it's your first time on the main roster. It's like, all right, whatever, things will happen. Like, if you're a wrestling fan and you expect perfection every event, like, come on, man. Like, this isn't, this isn't Photoshop, and this isn't, Microsoft Word or anything like that, where you can just change and edit things and make it look perfect and how it is and stuff like that. It's like, nah, man, things happen. And there were a few spots that just came off, like I said, clunky a little bit, where it was just like, and it was, I don't know, it was just towards the end of the match, it just got really, like as the match went on, is like the further it just like, if you had interest in the match, it was just like, okay. Started just backing off of the match a little bit as far as entrance-wise. But in the end, Damage Control wins from a roll-up, which was pretty interesting. And the other interesting thing about this match was that Roxanne Perez took the pin, which was like, it was her first time on the roster. Like, kind of, I don't know. It's like you could see both sides to that argument as far as should she have taken the pin or shouldn't she have taken the pin. Like, you could see both sides. Like, okay, maybe they want to establish her, down the line, when she does defeat Bayley later on, it will mean something. And then on the other side, it's like, well, if you don't let her lose, she's still stronger, but she lost. And then there's the other thing. Her losing, now that it does add more to the Cora Jade feud that she has, where now Cora Jade can say, hey, you lost. Maybe Cora Jade wins on Raw or next week or what have you. I don't know. We'll see, but it does add more to it. I do see it that way, that it does add more to it, but the other side, if Roxanne doesn't take the pin, like, she is kind of safe, and like Shotzi could take the pin or what have you. So you keep Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, free from just like, oh, they lost, and like, you just keep them free from that. But I mean, it was an okay match, but it was just like something like just went, it just like, and then it came back, and like, it was just very clunky to me. Then we get a recap of Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma's debut, which I like that they referenced that they were feuding in NXT. I do like those subtle details that WWE has been doing lately as far as wrestlers' histories, whether it's been out of WWE or within WWE and NXT, like subtle stuff like that. I like, because it's, as the saying goes, you reward your viewer for watching. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They fought here, they fought there, and also it keeps from what I've noticed is like some people like posting so-called facts that aren't facts. So it does eliminate that, where it's like, hey, okay, these guys fought here, they fought there. It's like, okay, cool. You acknowledge it, and it eliminates that type of stuff. Then they get a recap of Liv and Ronda. Then you get a video of the Viking Warriors, or the Viking Raiders, whatever. Warriors, Raiders, whatever. They're Viking Raiders. And you see both of them, and you see a woman. You get a shot of her back with her long hair. And actually, the getup of the woman in the vignette looks very similar to Max the Impaler. If you ever seen Max the Impaler, just Google her. Like, she's one of the top women wrestlers not signed to WWE or AEW. She is a phenomenal wrestler. I enjoy her work. Got to watch her wrestle in person. So yeah, this woman, which it looks like Sarah Logan, like very similar as far as the braids and the actual attire. Like, it looks very, very similar. So we'll see when this trio debuts of the Viking Raiders and Sarah Logan. We'll see. Then we get the match between Hit Row and Legado El Fantasma. It started off, both teams were brawling. Like I said, they made reference to their feud in NXT. Then, somewhere in the match, you had Santos and Selena attack Adonis and B-Fab, which allowed Legado del Fantasma to get the upper hand in the match, and then they pinned Top Dollar for the win. So adds to it. I don't know. It was a decent match. I don't know. It's something about these feuds. Like, it's okay, but the matches are like short. I noticed that is a tactic that they used to use during the Attitude Era, where the feud and the fisticuffs and the extracurricular activities outside of the matches took precedence over the actual match. And I've noticed that the matches are like shorter to some extent, or like one-sided, and it's just very, very different. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's just very different. I don't know. We'll see how this, again, Triple H has been there since the beginning of August. So we'll see how that plays out, and just where this goes once we get to December and January, see how that plays out. But yeah, it was just a very quick match and one-sided, that Legado El Fantasma had the upper hand and just went away with the win. Then we get a backstage segment with Sonya Deville, and she starts talking about Liv Morgan. She gets she is beat by Liv Morgan. There's a nasty kick she gave Sonya. Then she put her on the table. She climbed up this scaffolding and did a senton splash, not dive, splash onto Sonya Deville on the table. Just started laughing. This Liv Morgan is very fun to watch. This isn't. You can tell in the last month or so that ever since you could say when she won the SmackDown Women's title, that she shed the very innocent, like, hey, I'm happy and, I just can't get over the hump. Like, now it's like, okay, I got over the hump. And guess what? You're going to have to deal with me now because I got over the hump. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to beat the hell out of you. And that's what she's doing. And it's very entertaining stuff from Liv Morgan, man. This is very entertaining. Then we get a recap of Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle at Extreme Rules. Then we go to the number one contendership match for the Intercontinental Championship. We got Ricochet, Sheamus, Solo Sikoa, and then it's announced that Rey Mysterio is filling in for Karrion Kross, which is an interesting thing how this plays out. So, with this match, the things that stood out to me was, one, Rey Mysterio is officially a part of the SmackDown brand. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to play out on Raw, what Judgment Day is going to say, and where that's going to go. Of course, we know it's going to go into the Good Brothers and AJ Styles, that whole aspect. So pretty interesting how that plays out. I did not expect Rey Mysterio to be added to the SmackDown brand. It was very interesting, but now looking at it and now thinking about it, with AJ Styles, with the Good Brothers versus Judgment Day, pretty smooth way to transition Rey Mysterio to SmackDown. And might I add, a very smooth and logical way to transition Rey Mysterio to the SmackDown brand. So, I don't know. We'll see. And of course, we know Dominic's going to brag about it, but interesting call. Very interesting call. But yeah, the sequence between Rey Mysterio and Ricochet, man, if we are going to get a few Rey Mysterio versus Ricochet matches on Friday night, I'm all for it, man, because that's going to be beautiful, a work of art. And man, these guys, for the sequence they did in this match, man, this was beautiful. Beautiful, man. I loved it. Sheamus, the forearm strikes that he normally does, he executed like 26. Like, man, this dude is having fun executing that move. They call it the, the 10 beats of the Babylon or whatever that's called. He striking him, man. He loves it because, man, he used to do 10, but man, he's getting close to 30, and man, he's laying it in. Then we had Sami Zayn and Jey Uso interfered. That caused the Brawling Brutes to come out. And for some reason, Solo Sikoa started helping him out and not get the win. So they're out. And that allowed Rey Mysterio and Ricochet, because of course Sheamus was helping the Brawling Brutes and everything. Nice sequence where Ricochet countered a 619, and then Rey Mysterio countered it with like a freaking like a Hurricanrana pile driver type move that was crazy, which resulted in him hitting Ricochet with the 619 and then the splash, and he pinned 1, 2, 3. So Rey Mysterio is the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship, which is held by Gunther. Like I said, that match is going to be very funny. Hopefully Rey Mysterio survives, because Gunther does not play, and his chops, man, he's going to chop the hell out of Rey Mysterio. Then we get to what everybody was waiting for. Bray Wyatt coming out. I don't know if it's his new theme. officially, but the theme that he came out to today had a piano beat, had like a rock drum beat. It was really, really different from the previous themes that Bray Wyatt has had, whether it was the Wyatt family or the Fiend, because some of those, like both of those, had like similar, like very slow. Like this one was just really like odd. Like don't get me wrong, it sounded like it was just something just like weird. But man, he gave a very passionate promo, um, very genuine. From the You didn't know if it was the character or Wyndham Rotunda. Um, this past year he said I lost a lot of things. You were there for me when I was weak. You saved my life. That's what he's mentioning to the fans. Then all of a sudden, the mask that he had on when he debuted gets on the screen, and one of the issues I had the way it ended, because the image on the screen, it said something, and then it just went to his image, and then the show ended, was you couldn't make out what the image was saying. Like you were like, wait a minute, what? What is he saying? It was just really weird. Like it looked cool, but you like, man, what is he saying? So that was the only issue I had with it. But overall, it's gonna like people like you're interested. Like, okay, what is this? Like again, Bray Wyatt is the king of. He kind of took Roddy Piper's moniker. You know, you have the questions and I change the answers. Like he's kind of taken that and like just kept it to himself, because like he presents all these questions and the answers wind up being questions, but are answers. But yeah, this ending like leaves so many things that are, uncertain and very curious. Like, okay, is this another person behind it? Is this another Bray Wyatt character? Does this character have split personality? Like, is this a mantra that is calling him to assemble something? Is it similar to how the Fiend was, where there was this inner monster within him that he unleashed? Like, what is it? Where is this gonna go? And some good stuff, and that's a great addition and a plus for WWE television and storyline wise, because that aspect of storytelling has been missing on WWE. Granted, that storytelling is somewhat best in WWE. Any other place, it would you would have to the margin of error would have to be 1 to none. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes and how this plays out. I know during the show there was the image. I believe it was during Hit Row. I don't know if there was a QR code or something, but it came and then it went. So I guess they're gonna continue this QR code thing with Bray, which is really cool. The only concern is that I hope they don't do it so much that it's just okay, I'm tired of looking up codes and stuff like that. Oh my god. But yeah, Bray Wyatt, man, was pretty much the star of this show tonight, because what is he gonna do? There's speculation as far as the Wyatt Six. Is he assembling a faction? Is he just gonna be himself? How is this gonna play out? And that's the big question here on SmackDown. And honestly, if you really look at it, Bray Wyatt, him doing this, kind of alleviates the whole void of, well, Roman Reigns doesn't wrestle every week. He's got this light schedule. Bray Wyatt fills that role. So now you have someone that you want to see every week on SmackDown that isn't Roman Reigns. So kudos to WWE and Triple H for making that move, because now you got something that's solid here. Hopefully they add it on Raw, which they're doing. So pretty good SmackDown with a lot of questions. I'm intrigued. So that is my review for the October 14th episode of WWE Smackdown. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications so that way you are notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that,